Hey everybody, this is Jungle Jenna with Confessions of a Trashy Reylo Shipper. And if you are subscribed to my channel, then you know that I invested in a camera over the holiday. So going forward, I am going to be doing mostly face-to-face videos where I film myself. And occasionally I will do the digital photo story 3 where I record my voice over pictures and stuff. But it's really nice to meet everybody face-to-face. And I want to thank everyone who has liked, commented, and subscribed to my channel. Everyone's support has really motivated me to further share my ideas. And everyone just has amazing things to say. I love all of you. You're great. So thank you. And then also too, I wanted to take note that the lighting situation, I did not purposely do this. But what is really cool is that on this side I have sort of a blue thing going on, and then on this side it's kind of like a red-orange business. So I literally feel like I'm surrounded by the light and dark sides of the Force as I make my Star Wars video, which is like creepy, cool, exciting. I feel like I'm in an episode of Stranger Things or something, which I recommend watching if you haven't checked it out already. So anyway, moving on. So in this video I will be responding to a question that was posed in the comments section. Shannon Reynolds asked what my opinion is in terms of at what point will Kylo Ren begin to evaluate himself. So before I get into the nitty-gritty of my speculation and projection, I will say that as a Reylo shipper, what I have learned by being in the Reylo fandom is that not every Reylo shipper has this singular view of what they think will happen with these characters, which is amazing because it's spawned a lot of amazing, respectful, in-depth conversation and a lot of great fan art and fan fiction and all that jazz. So, but in terms of my own theories and speculation, it's pretty basic actually. I believe that Rey and Kylo Ren have formed a Force bond, and that will be further explored in the next 2 movies. And I also believe that Rey and Kylo Ren embody the dark and light sides of the Force, and that them coming together will represent the balance of the Force and a new generation of Force users. So yeah, my overall speculation and projection for the sequel trilogy is pretty simple. When it comes to Rey and Kylo Ren, I'm sort of monitoring my expectations and keeping my mind open to whatever may happen, because I really don't have that much control over what ends up happening. And I'm just grateful to have the sequel trilogy because of how entertaining and wonderful it is. So in terms of at what point will Kylo Ren begin to evaluate himself, I believe that he's already begun to, or at least I think that it's going to be a combination of things, some of which has already happened. I said in my last video, in terms of the possibility of Kylo Ren's redemption arc, that I believe Han's death will be the most critical scene in terms of Kylo Ren being redeemed, going back to the light side, exploring his humanity, whatever you want to call it. I believe that sometimes I feel like Han's death is a little bit downplayed in reference to Kylo Ren's character, which, you know, when I first saw the movie, I thought that it was one of the most important scenes in the entire movie, because it presents this paradox in terms of Kylo Ren's character. When he kills Han, you sort of expect him to go darker, but then when you read the script in the Force Awakens novelization and you hear J.J. Abrams talking about Kylo Ren's reaction and his emotions associated with this scene, you have a character who isn't going dark, he's actually feeling the pull to the light that much stronger. So even though Kylo Ren in some ways proves that he's able to go further than Darth Vader, that his true nature and destiny is not rooted in the dark side of the Force. So, you know, and then also too, I mentioned in my last video that because Han goes to his son and takes that risk in bringing him back, to the light side and sacrifices his life in the process, and in the wake of his son's betrayal, he is still able to demonstrate that forgiveness and unconditional love. I think that that in itself is going to be major in Kylo Ren evaluating himself and exploring his own humanity. So I think we're going to see the repercussions of J.J. Abrams described Kylo Ren killing Han as inflicting a spiritual wound on Kylo Ren, which I thought was really interesting. So I think that we will see the repercussions of that spiritual wound in Episode 8. But in addition to Han's death, I also think that there was a user who commented on one of my videos. I apologize if I'm not saying your name correctly, but Jay Rossi or Jay Rossi, they said something that they perfectly articulated what I was trying to say in my last video about Kylo Ren's redemption arc, that really the two major facets of him exploring his humanity will be Han's love, his unconditional love and forgiveness, and then Kylo Ren's compassion for Rey. This is what Jay Rossi said in his comment, which perfectly articulated my own thoughts as to Kylo Ren's character and his development overall. I think that Rey won't necessarily be the one to save Kylo Ren. I think that Kylo Ren's his own possible redemption or his character development, like, he's responsible for that. So Rey's not responsible for, dragging him over to the light side. So it's kind of like with Titanic, for example, with Jack and Rose's relationship. Even though the story focuses on this developing relationship between Jack and Rose, Jack sort of serves as this inspiration for Rose and is a catalyst for her coming of age. But Rose, it's not like Rose undergoes this major transformation as a person in terms of her qualities. She more or less, like, Jack represents qualities that she already has and that she wants for her own life. So like I said, he more or less served as an inspiration and a catalyst for, for her being motivated to tap into those qualities and make them a part of her life. So I'm not saying that Jack and Rose, that they're, that Kylo Ren and Rey are going to be exactly like what happens in Titanic, but it's more just an example of how Rey will serve as an inspiration for Kylo Ren because she has qualities and represents things that he already has, but that he seems to relate to on an emotional and spiritual level, and that he also seems to crave. So, and in terms of Rey evaluating or reevaluating her perception of Kylo Ren, I see, in the next movie, I think a Force bond could really help with this, but I also think that because both Rey and Kylo Ren represent the dark and light sides of the Force, and they have a lot of just spiritual and emotional stuff that they can relate to, or I guess a lot of similarities, I should say, that this will give Rey a reason to see a different side of Kylo Ren and begin to see him as being a human being instead of a beast or a monster. So I think that based on what Adam Driver has said and even just the plot points in The Force Awakens, we will see a much more human side of Kylo Ren explored through his relationship with Rey and even just like his character as an individual. But in terms of, that's pretty much all I've got to say about that. I was surprised by how quickly I finished this video because a lot of my other videos are really long. So, but I'm really interested to hear what other people think. So now I'm aiming the question at you. At what point do you think Kylo Ren will begin to evaluate his humanity? And at what point do you think Rey will reevaluate her perception of Kylo Ren? And before I finish the video, I will add that I think that Rey will in part begin to reevaluate Kylo Ren, because he probably will do something noble and heroic in addition to the Force bond, and in addition to her being able to relate to his light and dark struggle. But I think that some of what we know about Episode 8, in terms of spoilers, is that I get the impression that Rey and Kylo Ren are going to be spending a lot of time together, being stranded on Ahch-To. So it will give Kylo Ren ample opportunity to show her, you know, all of the different facets and all of the different layers of who he is, because he is an onion and has lots of layers. I do not know what I'm saying anymore. Oh, okay. So, I do have one more thing to say too. That Rey and Kylo Ren representing the dark and light sides of the Force, and I think that the location of Ahch-To in the next movie will be really interesting, because you have this lush green island that in many ways serves as a neutral location for these two characters who come from opposing social and political stances in the galaxy. And so I think that, or like even if you look at in The Force Awakens, how Kylo Ren comes from this icy, cold, snowy planet, and then Rey comes from a hot, dry, sunny desert planet, and then their first meeting is in the forest on Takodana, where it's lush and green, and it serves as this neutral location for two characters who come from distinctly different places. So in Ahch-To, in Episode 8, my projection is that on Ahch-To, this facade of being enemies fighting on opposite sides of the war and having this polarized social and political climate, on Ahch-To, those facades will melt away and they will come together as two human beings who are equally strong in the Force, share a ton of similarities, and who will find that they have a lot more in common than they have, than they are different, which will be really subtle and complex and highly nuanced. So that's my projection for what may happen in Episode 8, and I'm really happy to say that at the end of this year we will finally know what will happen. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. I did go on a tangent there because I don't have editing software for doing the videos. This video probably was a bit rougher than some of my future ones will be, but thank you so much for bearing with me, watching my video. Please comment, like, subscribe, or dislike if you are a wet blanket. Okay, see you later. Bye.